you.
It's such an honor to sit in your presence every time, and it's just amazing. Great. What is
Well,
it? Sorry.
it's all right. Go ahead. I was just going to say, I think this is quite extraordinary how you're bringing spirituality and AI reality together. What a fun way to explore.
Yeah, I think I'm taking some risks. Clearly.
That's a good thing.
It is. It is. I mean, I was like, I announced it, and I then thought, what am I doing? Then I said, okay, now it's done. It's announced. Just go ahead. Great. So, Janet, let me just introduce you briefly to the audience who've joined. And I think any amount of introduction is less for you, but I need to do the formality of sharing a brief introduction. So, Janet Harvey is a vanguard thinker, speaker, author, and the CEO of Invite Change, coaching and a human development organization that shapes a world where people love their life's work. With nearly 30 years of executive experience, Janet passionately believes in liberating each leader's potential to optimize organizational performance. And as this conversation comes into the space with conference, she is an originator of a framework on generative wholeness, and that's what I'm curious about. And actually, this topic was more for my learning. And I said, okay, I'm sure there are others who want to learn about this. So let me understand from Janet, what is generativeness? Where did this word come from? What's the seed for this?
My deep curiosity about why things work the way they do.
Mm,
And, coaching is a highly subjective,
mm,
very personal, very intimate experience. Whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many, it doesn't matter. It is still highly personal and intimate. And I asked a lot of colleagues, why do you think what we do works? And
mm,
at the time, this was even before ICF was formed, people would say, because it does. And that wasn't satisfying enough for me. And it took about maybe my first 8 or 9 years of work as a coach, and I finally started asking very accomplished executives, what do you think your secret sauce is? What is it that has you producing excellent results over and over and over again, despite dramatic change in your company and in your industry? And kind of led me on a couple of years of social research. And I began to see there was a lot more behind producing results than they were aware of, could articulate, understood, and cultivated. Like it was unconscious competence. And the first one is, I think, one of the most important game changers, which is they were available to put themselves in a position of deep discomfort in the interest of learning.
mm,
If you follow Bill Gates, you can see that he has put his energy into very complex chemistry, very complex biology. He's studying infectious diseases. He's studying nutrition. He puts a variety of things that have nothing to do with computers
mm,
into his brain, into his being. He immerses in it. He goes to the country. I know this because my son is a scientist and happened to meet him in Kenya. Um, that's an example of a learner who is comfortable in the not knowing space because on the other side they know there's a grand reward. And that led the marketing idea that is the big sea change. I mean, trusting deeply in internal sensing and intuition, gut instinct, heart intuition. I would say actually probably a spiritual calling that can take that learning experience and spot the ideas that they can use to evolve.
mm,
Now, sometimes that's commercial, but not always. Sometimes the evolution is catching the future trend that's coming. Who knew when Mark Cuban brought out AOL that it was going to utterly transform society?
Mm. Mm.
Like he was just playing around with the internet going, huh, I wonder if we could send messages to each other and what that might do. Hmm, pretty interesting. So from originate, you go to create. So generative, just real simple, basic. Yes, it's about producing results, but it is about doing it through learning what is completely emergent for you, trusting what you're experiencing in that learning to originate new thinking. And then, and this was also really important, the dynamic of too many ideas happens to a lot of very creative leaders. And
Mm.
you have to learn to discern and sift and sort. And we've so made speed more important than the quality of our decisions.
Mm.
These were leaders who knew how to sift and sort and then source from their team because they weren't going to be the ones that were implementing. It was necessary to bring a culture of experimentation, of including lots of voices to refine the ideas. So while they might have had 20 that came in their original thinking, they whittled it down to a couple and they gave it to the teams to start to flesh it out until they got to a minimum viable product or not, because learning was the higher priority. And then trusting that they had the discernment to figure out what was right for their companies. All right, so that's generative. But
Mm.
the wholeness piece came in second. And I've always been a student of understanding how do we open and access more and more layers of who we are in our human experience. And, we speak to this today as authenticity. Okay, authenticity is the behavior. Will I give myself permission to express from the essence of who I am? Wholeness is the recognition that we are whole and always becoming more whole. We
Mm.
we arrive incarnated in a human body just to take it to the spiritual level with
Mm.
everything necessary for whatever our contract here is as embodied as a human. And we spend our lifetime learning.
Yeah.
There's two core things all humans need is connection and growth.
Yeah. 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 So can I say wholeness means embracing my strengths and my dark sides? Is that wholesomeness?
Well, strength is a judgment. And so I would just encourage you to find an alternative, which to me is your unique qualities and traits.
Hmm?
Wholeness is expressing out of your unique qualities and traits. Dark side is simply what, as we are nurtured in our life, we
Hmm?
have things we put on the bench. Take it to sports, right? Put me in, coach. At some point, we reclaim the shadow.
Hmm.
It's on the bench for a reason. The family we grew up in, the culture we grew up in, the philosophy, the anthropology, the epigenetics, all of those things give us a moment to say, okay, here's how I'm going to develop to an adult.
Hmm.
And as I age, I begin to realize, oh, I'm not alone.
Hmm.
I actually am part of something much bigger. And we start to realize, oh, it's okay now. I can bring back my wicked humor. I can bring back in my sense of innocence. I can bring back in my courage to be a lion. Whatever it is that we've put into the dark side so
Hmm.
that we could develop. So just encouraged to lift the judgment of the labels off of it, and that we are seeking to fully embody the unique qualities and traits that are the essence of Janet as a human born in 1959, traveling life as I do.
Okay, so let me break it down more. So if there we have to pick up a simple daily example of generativeness. Let's say if I have to explain this to my son, how do I do generativeness? Guy, I mean, how do I say, baby, be generative? How do I explain that?
Well, I think that's fun. It's the quality of presence that allows something to arise because we've expanded. So if it's a child that is seeking to learn to paint
Okay.
and there's a blank canvas and the child is feeling stuck, you might begin by asking, what is the color that puts a smile on your face?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't worry about the canvas. You worry about what their relationship is to it. Will they let themselves feel something that's enlivening? So you see a smile because they picked the color blue. Okay. Um, would you prefer to paint with your fingers or with a brush? Oh, mom, let's do it with my fingers. Great. All right. Dip your fingers in the blue and let's see what you draw on the canvas.
Mm.
You can hear the coaching process here, right? So, completely
Mm.
allowing another human being to remember who they are and allow themselves to overcome what the brain thinks, I don't know how to paint. I could never fill that canvas. Well, that's all a story of conditioning. Because it hasn't been in my history, therefore I can't, stops them. What we
Mm.
open the door with generativeness is the quality of your presence. Will you connect to your innate joy and love, your love of life, the things that ignite, call you to pull your body forward. These are the things that we want to encourage. Um, it's not about faster output. Everybody thinks generator, they're thinking about an engine.
Mm.
I would say presence is the engine. Why? Because we not only become aware of our own experience and how we're relating to something, but we're also experiencing other things around us. And this activates wonder. It's like,
Mm.
I could do that. Oh, let me see what orange does with blue. Wow,
Mm.
look at that. The canvas is vibrating. In the space of a few minutes, that child will realize I have the power to create something that didn't exist before.
Interesting. And if it is so simple, why is it hard?
Because we have 1,000 years of believing that somebody else knows better. Look at how we raise kids. For the most part, we send them to school to learn how to follow the rules. This
Mm.
is the information that's important for you to know. You need to put it into your brain, and then you need to memorize it, and then you need to spit it back out in a paper or a test.
Mm.
We've learned a little bit about putting them into more experiential work, but we still do standardized testing to figure out if you can get into that prep school, if you can get into the college that you want to go to. And
Mm.
we hire people based on what was the quality of the college they went to, and did they get C's or B's or A's? Were they on the honor roll? Did they do anything extra? It's all about performance.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Only humans can generate meaning. What we've been training people to do will get replaced by AI because AI is us. I mean, I think people seem to keep forgetting that. Everything that's in the databases is us, all of
Mm.
us, human history. And it will produce patterns and reproduce patterns. I just did a project that would normally be 40 hours in about 90 minutes. It was extraordinary. I'm just having so much fun playing with ChatGPT. It's great. And it's only effective if I then accept responsibility for how I put it out in the world, the way in which I invite people to engage with it. Only humans generate meaning. And we do that by metabolizing experience.
Well, ChatGPT is metabolizing as well. What is going on there? What is, how do we, it's digesting and telling us everything with so much of accuracy. Where do we stand? Do you think generativeness as a concept is little ahead of time when AI is already in our world?
No. Generativeness has been around for a while. People have chosen to prefer performance and speed. And the AI saying, not so fast. I can do it faster than your brain's ever going to be able to do it. I think human evolution may not be quite in step. And, someday we're all going to have implants and we'll have it inside of us instead of the prompt we're writing now to interface with a machine. And, that's the evolution of technology. It's going to continue. It's going to continue to have um, what's called in the tech world a sea change, right? Where we jump the technology curve. This is just the next one. And please don't forget, AI's been around since the early 50s. Bell Labs was doing this work from a very early time, recognizing that the power of that chip was the ability to go very quickly and see patterns. heuristic learning, essentially, which we've been studying for decades, is what we've put into the machine. So it's still not anything unless you do something with it. The machine's not going to do it on its own. Even when we say, to my Rumba machine, please go clean the floor, and we program it to know which rooms and what to avoid so it doesn't break something, that's still me interfacing with it.
Mm, mm,
So, I think that there's a great deal of fear, and rightfully so. There are some of the heuristics need some tweaking.
mm,
The minute you have a conversation with a machine that tells you it's okay to pick up a gun and shoot somebody, that's a problem. We
mm,
don't want that. As humans, we must remember to use our ability to critically think. If anything, Jaya, in my opinion, this is where we've gone awry in the last 30 or 40 years. Our
mm.
education system is not built for critical thinking. It's coming back,
Exactly.
but we're a little late.
A
It's
little, yeah.
like,
Yeah.
let's go. We got some work to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much of damage being done already, and then we are now hoping only the next generation to catch up. And what do we do with ourselves who are like in between AI and the Gen Zs, you know? Well,
Well, you know the key, you know the answer to that.
yeah, I know, I know, I know.
Okay,
And
this four-letter word called fear.
yeah,
If you use it as an acronym, it's false evidence appearing real.
false evidence, absolutely.
Right? So if you've defined yourself as someone who is competent because of the knowledge that you've acquired and potentially the experience you've had in applying that knowledge, you are stuck in a fixed mindset.
Hmm.
If you begin to hear yourself defending what you know, you're stuck in a fixed mindset. If you hear yourself debating with somebody, no, that's not right, it doesn't work like that, you're stuck in a fixed mindset. And the move, so this is Carol Dweck's work, right? So the move from fixed to growth is essentially saying, if you loosen your grip a little bit on what you think you know, you're going to have a lot more fun.
Hmm.
Let's go experiment. It's an
Right.
experiment. It's not changing your identity. It's changing how you're relating to the experiment. The move to generative is I to we, right? Fixed and growth are self referencing.
Hmm.
Generative is a we referencing. It begins to think about the system. Where do I fit in my connectivity with everything else?
Hmm.
And ultimately, regenerative, which is a bit more on the bleeding edge, is really talking about all of us, that we are connected. If you look at uh, a network drawing, for example, that technologists use to figure out some of the patterns that AI is producing, that's really recognizing that we're one with all. Spiritual idea manifests now by looking at how AI understands our relationship to the planet, whether it's air or water or soil. These are things that are impacting us. The nutrition we do get or don't get, the chemicals that we're exposed to, and the impact it has on our health and well-being. The plastics in the ocean and how it's transforming what's in bodies of fish that we're putting into our bodies as our nutrition. Really? Oh, but you know what? AI is going to help us figure that out because we are all of us in this together. And a regenerative mindset says make decisions that can anticipate a very far long term.
Yeah.
In indigenous communities, this is 7 years out, right? Seven generations out. And then work our way back. So the decision we make today doesn't have the unintended consequences. We all thought plastic was the coolest thing. Yes, and the chemical companies made $1 billion, making us very sick.
Yeah, yeah, I see that. So, Janet, this conference around spirituality to reality is actually a generative concept to connect the dots, to create more generative through the ancient wisdom. Can you
Mhm.
help us, tie the knots together to see how generativeness and chakra system can actually help us being more generative, if I may say?
Sure, absolutely. And I love this actually. Um, all right, let's do a little bit of a quiz. So everybody, let's list the chakras. So you have your root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart. There's more than one at the heart. Just do one for the heart. Throat, third eye, and crown. Okay? 7 energy centers. All right, take a guess. What do you think the root is all about in terms of generative power, my capacity to be in full presence?
Security?
Okay?
Grounding.
Yeah.
Grounding. And grounding in what way?
uh, Grounding oneself in their own sense of power, their own sense of being, like being, right there, down there, but also holding oneself up, because it is, um, we all stand up anti-gravity. So that's how I see it. So can you hold
Yeah.
yourself? Root chakra is about digging yourself in, but being able to hold
Being
oneself
rooted.
up. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, that's
So I would say grounded in truth. It's related to security, right? But it's what is my truth? What is it that I stand for? Core values, essential traits, principles that make me me, and the fact that it evolves over time because we stay grounded, grounded in our truth, right? And this is it's so interesting to me. We get mad at politicians because they change their point of view. Oh, Lordy, I hope we do. I really hope we all come to realize that with critical thinking, we make mistakes. We see things one way, and 10 years later, we realize, wow, that didn't work out very well. What we miss is understanding what was the thought process that allowed the evolution in one's thinking. We have two faults. One, it stays invisible by the person who changes their mind, and the listener is so predisposed to being attached to their history, they can't get current with a person who's evolved. Oh my gosh, didn't we want to celebrate our evolution? So grounded in truth, that's the root chakra. And so when we're grounded in our truth, what do we think that sacral chakra is about? Go back to the definition of generative. What was the first piece of secret sauce, right? Learning, origination,
yeah,
to create.
creative. Yeah.
Creative, right? It's the creative force. The sacral energetics. It's procreation, of course, if we go to the physiology. But in the essence of the being, the sacral is the creative life force. So the solar plexus then says, what do you do with that? That's agency.
Agency. Yeah.
Solar plexus is right, right. You get the light there in your solar plexus, and everything starts to flood into both the emotional realms and the cognitive realms to recognize, yes, I can. Yes, I am.
Like that.
And just in case we might get a little too big for our britches, as my mother used to say to me, the heart is about compassion. Can I
Mm.
be with the passion of others before I get a little too big out there? Um, it also brings a bit of humility because we realize just how magnificent the human condition is. So compassion and humility is in the heart. And what's the throat? Should
The
be a little
voice.
obvious to all of us.
Yes.
It's the voice.
The voice.
Right. What's the voice? What is the message from the essence of who we are and of our life experience in any moment that we allow out into the world? It's our voice.
Mhm.
This is when people say, I'm afraid of public speaking. No, what you are afraid of is to be rooted in the voice that comes from your compassionate heart. And it is your creative life force that you have agency to deliver. False evidence appearing real. Let's work it. What are you waiting for? And of course, the third eye is discernment.
Mm.
Will I allow myself to immerse enough in the thing that's uncomfortable to discern what is mine and what is not mine?
Mm.
No, yes, it's a word, but guess what? It's a complete sentence. and it does not require explanation. Discerning who we are with and what it means for us, what it might mean for them. What is the objective of what we're creating together? I say yes to Jaya to do events like this because I have lots of experience with her of the ability to bring something quite provocative and in service to many. So she gets yes from me when other people who just make an ask that I don't know well, they're going to get a maybe. And sometimes they get a flat out no because it's just not aligned with who I am and how I want to stand rooted in truth in the world. And then, of course, what is the crown? It is our connection to all that is, and therefore it is purpose. Without a purpose, we're just dabbling. We're we're testing. We're putting our toe in the water instead of going into the deep end and swimming. When our purpose is big enough for us to recognize that it will ask more of us, then we are honoring that core strand of DNA that is growth and connection to all it is. This is the crown.
Janet, I mean, I'm curious and disturbed by the fact that this wisdom has been there. And like you said, generativeness had been there. What are we sleeping or are we ignorant? Yes, we are all of that. Why is this knowledge coming to us so late? At least, when we look at our own lives, right? Yes, it is early for people who are coming ahead. And I don't know how much would they like to accept, digest, and implement, but at least for me personally, or for the coaches that we train and the conversations we do with leaders today, especially the leaders that we interact with today, isn't it very late in the day?
I don't hold it that way, Jaya. I think that we've had a good long run of learning about agency and performance, and
Mm,
it has produced miraculous inventions.
mm,
Um, somebody was talking on the radio last night with the deaths that we've had here in the US, as well as what happened in Australia. And they were talking about the largesse that Western society produced over the last couple of hundred years. Like it's quite remarkable, but it had a cost, right? It was done at the cost of, I would say, much of our soul. And, in our desire to not exclude anyone's right to practice whatever spiritual philosophy they wanted to, we separated the secular and the spiritual. And that secular being independent gave us permission to test the limits of our cognitive creative ability. That separation was false. It's a mirage. Just like a human's belief that they're separate from spirit, it's a mirage. It's not true.
mm.
We're born whole and we die whole. So to me, it's about awakening. And at a moment in time, there's something new to awaken to, and there always will be. There will
Yeah.
always be something new. So we've given it a description now.
Mm,
Generativeness is um, we've made it pragmatic and tangible and something we can get our arms and hearts around. And we can remember that, oh, well, this is love,
mm.
right? Unconditional self-love is rooted in my truth and all the way aligned to the core purpose that I incarnated in this body at this time in this place. Why does somebody get born in, the arid desert that can't grow food, and somebody else gets born on a farm that produces so much food we have to sell it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? These are coexisting truths.
Mm,
So I don't know that we're late. We
mm.
might be, if we just tried on for size, maybe we're just right.
Maybe.
Maybe we're awakening now to restore a sense of harmony, right? We're out of balance in the transactional versus the relational. And we bring that into harmony with generativeness
Mm.
and generative wholeness in my mind. Now we begin to think differently. We're out of the I, everything has to be about me being safe and okay, to we collectively together are okay.
Mm,
Because we're tapping in to all of our deep wisdom and experience. And that is a different way of operating. So, as coaches, helping leaders in a most simplistic way, oh, I'm having a team meeting with all my direct reports, and it's been 90 days since we were together, and we've been through three layoffs, and the industry is transforming, and the budgets are a mess, like total breakdown.
mm,
Who do you want to be with your people? That helps restore optimism and a clear direction for next year. What does that ask of you to pay attention to inside of yourself? Yes, the noise is out there. Come
mm,
back home here, leader. And the minute they do that, the natural learning, origination, and creativity gets activated. And they will create an experience for their direct reports that does exactly what we invited that intention to be, optimism and a clear direction. By the way, that's what Gallup calls hope. And 68% of respondents in the global study done this year, end of last year, first part of this year, and that was the number one. Trust had dropped to 33%.
yeah,
Why? Because we're in this chaotic time.
yeah, yeah.
And the chaos is there to give us a wake-up call.
Absolutely.
Don't make it the enemy.
True, true. I mean, the real contrast is here right away, right in front of us. That one side you see a complete breakdown of the world, and
Mhm.
another side we are seeing young people actually not going to disco parties but going to spiritual parties.
Yes, exactly.
It is,
Exactly.
that contrast is there in this city. I see. I'm sure it's available in every city across the world. What's happening? What's going on?
So, do you remember when rave parties started?
Hmm.
And they would usually be in some big old barn or in some big warehouse off the beaten path, right? And I had somebody ask me one time, how can they do that with that loud music and all those lights? And I said, what do you mean? They've just gone back to the womb. What is a rave party?
Yeah.
It's the heartbeat, right? It's the steadiness. And it's the replacement for the, I don't understand the chaos in the world, but this is the place where I can be fully myself. Now, of course, there were excesses. Drugs and alcohol are poisons in the body. And we have a long history archetypally of wanting pleasure. Pain and pleasure are part of the human experience. And we have a lot of access to ways of doing that. And then it runs its course. At some point, we say to ourselves, maybe that's not all there is. And the spiritual comes in. It's there, it didn't go anywhere.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
always around us, right?
Yeah, I
The
think.
joy at seeing the ladybug on the bench. Didn't I send you that picture? I think I did.
Mm, mm.
I was talking to somebody on the phone and I was outside and I looked down at this bench that I have in my back garden and all of a sudden I saw this red dot. And I leaned in really close. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a ladybug. What is a ladybug doing here in October? They're not supposed to be here until the spring. That took me on a whole reflective process, right? We're seeing evolution right in front of us if we'll just open our eyes and let ourselves experience it. And I think that the spiritual desert that most workplaces are is creating that opportunity for the next generation that says, I'm looking at my elders going, not so much, not going there. There
Yeah.
must be something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
thank
mean,
goodness there is.
there is, thank God. Yeah. In fact, the conversation around Gen Z is almost in every room, right?
Yeah.
And there is a lot of presence that they bring, which it
Yes.
unfortunately hasn't been appreciated so much. So I can see myself at the intersection of the presence and the spirituality and the next generation, and can see how these things are coming together. However, we have those set of leaders who are still that spectrum where there is denial, there is misunderstanding, and still, we are trying to create generativeness in them through our work. What could be some of the simple things we can do with them? Because, when we ask questions, like when I ask questions like, who do you want to be? They look at me like, Can you repeat? I don't understand your question.
All right, so take it down one more layer. What is being? It's behavior, it's attitude, it's frame of reference, it's preference, it's habit. These are all components of mindset.
Mm,
So if someone says, I don't understand the question, then we need to pull back for perspective and
mm,
start at an earlier stage of awakening awareness. So you might say to this person, when you think back to a meeting that you held with your direct reports that you just thought was rocking good, describe to me what you witnessed in the behaviors of the people that were in the room.
mm,
Now, what am I doing with that question? I can't answer that question for them. Only
mm,
they can answer that question. And I'm challenging that leader to pay attention to their impact and influence. Their organizations are always reflecting back to them who they're being as a leader. This is a profound truth. And when a leader gets that lesson, now they're going to start to think, oh, I could change the behavior that I use when I show up with them.
mm,
Okay. What would knowing what you know about the team's uh, tension and stress and maybe a bit of anxiety and uncertainty and doubt, um, not on their game, you know all of that. Those are all symptoms.
mm,
What's creating that in the system that you were part cause or agent for? Yeah. And if you were in their shoes, what would you want to hear from you? And that would help lower the temperature a little bit.
mm,
Start them on some original thinking.
mm,
What would you benefit from knowing from your team right now that you're guessing about, or might have some assumptions about, or might have some bias about?
mm.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. You've hooked them,
Yeah.
right? So the key here, the simple key here is you need to meet clients where they are. And sometimes our questions are over their head. Great. Just push your chair back a couple of inches and ask them a question that
Yeah.
has them reflecting on the audience that they're wanting to have something be different in. The
Mm,
stakeholder, the customer, the team, the peer colleagues, the CEO, the direct reports. It doesn't matter. It's the
mm,
same process. What's the relational field?
yeah.
You know, this is why I always talk about sovereignty. And actually, sovereignty was the first thing that came before I named generative, because what I noticed in these really experienced and successful leaders was the humility to understand every choice they made, they had responsibility for. Even the ones that were non-choices, the ones where they said, I'm not doing that. They had to be responsible for the ripple effect of the no.
Mm,
Yes has no integrity if no isn't a good answer, an acceptable right answer for you. So that means there's something inside of us. There's an internal system of authority. Some people would call that their inner critic or their judge or their rule maker. Whatever label you need to put on it is fine. It's not all of who you are. You have a higher consciousness. But daily life, we make thousands of decisions. Our body makes thousands of decisions for us, right? Whether it likes or doesn't like the food we eat, for example, or the exercise that we do or don't do. So there is an inner authority. When we remember to accept responsibility to pause and listen to it, now we have the power of choice. We get to choose how we want to relate to our circumstances, to the
mm,
people around us, to the ideas that we're incubating, to the decisions to invest our time, energy, and money and others' effort to manifest something. That sovereign state, self-ruling, break that word down. Sov is self, reign is ruling. We're self-ruling. The minute we accept that, we finally have our eyes able to see other people do that too.
mm,
Oh, and if we're all operating with responsibility accepted for the authority we have to choose how we relate to our lives, now we're getting a little closer to having some integrity.
mm,
Add a little dose of values in there, add a little clear purpose. We utterly transform the experience that people have with each other. Now, you asked for something simple. That's simple, not easy. Because we have 1,000 years of trying to perform for something outside that we let evaluate us as our identity being enough.
Yeah.
It is the core shadow belief. I am not enough. I don't matter and I am not worthy. And this is the human condition, right? Some, for whatever reason, whatever spirit, universe, God, whatever source, whatever you would like to name it, whatever that is that manifests the human race on planet Earth, set it up. Our body doesn't know duality. It solved unity a long time ago. But
Mm.
all the rest of us is on the planet navigating this, trying to bring us back into wholeness.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is the place of unconditional self-love.
True, true, true. In fact, I'm thinking that is spirituality the way to generativeness in this world? Can we put it like that?
I think so.
Is that the only option we are left with? It's looking like that to me.
I don't know that that's true. It depends on how you define the scope of spirituality.
Mm,
If you allow spirituality to be something more than religion and religious practice, and instead inspirited, right? If we allow ourselves to be inspirited and recognize that we are one with all,
mm,
there's been some really interesting memes out on social media with animals being put together. So it would have the body of a wolf with the head of a lion.
mm.
Um, and
Why,
they've taken fish and given them legs, right?
why is
It's
that?
very interesting. Yeah.
Mm,
And we are seeing in the wild that animals that have traditionally been enemies helping each other.
mm.
Um, an owl helping a duck that was stuck in the mud and pulling it out of the mud and going to the middle of the road and stopping a car to help a
Yeah,
human help, right? Okay.
yeah.
So whether it's real or not is irrelevant.
Mm.
We're
But there's a
seeding
message.
the ideas that we are connected,
Mm.
right?
There's a message there.
Okay, that's the key. So
Mm.
if you think about spirituality in that way, to be inspirited, recognizing we are one with all, it alters our access to compassion in every situation.
I hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Great. I'm running out of questions. Let me ask the coaches on the call if they-
You ran out of questions? Come on, Jaya, I don't believe you.
I've asked I've asked all my questions. I'm satisfied. Let me see, guys, do you have any questions or would you like to say something about this conversation or what are you reflecting? What's coming up for you? It's a rare chance that we have Janet for so much of time, so please leverage this. It's a
I
very
think I
interesting.
I think for me, Jaya and Janet, right now as I'm listening to the two of you, I'm really struggling at the center of, oh my God, I got to make all these changes. I have to work on myself and like I have to do this, do that. And then one part of me says, can you breathe? Can you just, so the performance is so active in me at this moment, also
Yeah.
while you speak that even even moving towards spirituality feels like performance. Oh, I have to
Yeah.
learn this, demystify this, understand this, and do it well. And what is
Yeah.
this do it well? Do it well is always in relation to something that I have in my mind. So it's an imagination I have in my mind about what feels
Mhm.
like do it well. So, I mean, that's where I am as I'm listening to you. I'm sensing the hurry in me, and at the same time, I'm sensing the need to breathe and calm down. So, um, and then it
That
makes
is it.
yeah.
That is it. It's that tension.
Yeah.
So tension is not your enemy. It is your best friend. It is the signal that now is the moment to sit in this discomfort a little longer. And let me see what's activating my thinking that I must go fast, that somehow I'm not enough. Where's that coming from? What if I am
Yeah.
enough? Can you sit in the question that is the opposite? Can you hold those two things as simultaneous truths? You can only do that if you pause. It is in the sitting still and allowing the tension. Uh, one of my colleagues always says, with if you like to grow flowers, the one thing you learn is you can't force the bloom.
Oh yeah.
You
Wow.
can't force
Yeah.
it to bloom, right? It needs what it needs in the soil and in the water and in the amount of sunshine that it gets. You cannot force the bloom. Well, the same is true for us. What makes us think we can push something?
Yeah.
What we can stay aware of is what's right in front of us. Oh, this is what's wanted now. This is where the energy is moving. And to give yourself some grace.
Yeah, and I
Thank you, Janet. Yeah.
Aishwarya, what I learned in my journey was the more and more there was a pressure to perform. That's exactly what I needed to fight with, and said,
Right.
I will not get scared by you.
Yeah.
I will learn to be comfortable and I will do what I want to do with what I have and not get surrendered by your fear. And the day I won that, there was no need for preparation. You just need to show up.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I don't know if that helps. I
It does.
see.
It does. Thank you so much.
I see Valmik
Welcome.
raising his hand. Very new coach. Yes,
Uh,
Valmik.
Not it, coach. Just
You're trying. You're trying.
yeah, just the journey aside.
Welcome.
So good morning and good evening, all. Janet, I think you spoke very, well, and I'm still digesting it and understanding. But in between, you talked about the performance. I think we all of us are so much occupied of, being, perform every day. And literally, sometimes we get into so much chaos, of a performance, and then we forget somewhere sometimes as a human value in dealing with the people. As a leaders, I just want to understand if you really want to come out of this chaos of performance. Of course, performance is really required nowadays, but to come out of this chaos, what as a leader we should keep in mind while dealing with the people?
Thank you, Valmik. Um, I'm stuttering a little on the um, how do we keep out of it? Because it's not possible. You're in it. It is your experience that things are chaotic. That's not a mirage. And this is very often occurs when we're on the brink of breakthrough. There is always going to be a great deal of noise and disturbance because you have two things happening at once. Old systems are dissolving and new systems are trying to form. But here we are. You're incarnated in a body right now on planet Earth at this moment in time. What matters to you? I think really the very first thing is to pause and get still enough to ask a question you do not know the answer to. And ask it over and over again of all the people that are in your life that matter to you. That question might be, what is here besides the chaos that reminds us what we love? You have your answer to it, but every person's answer is going to be different. What I've just described is replacing judgment with wonder. Wonder to me is a step beyond curiosity. We can ask curious questions all day long. They often are questions that don't have relevance. It's like, oh, I was curious about this thing. Tell me about how engines work. But it has nothing to do with what you do professionally or any relationship to something that's going on in your personal life. Wonder instead says, I'm having an experience, and I wonder if anybody else is having that experience. I wonder what would emerge if we chose to relate to this differently, if we chose to gather together physically as opposed to virtually. I wonder what might show up for us as opportunity. So, asking a question you don't know the answer to and replacing judgment with wonder. Now, here's the key. You have to stay present to listen fully. And that means pausing our thinking habits, Many of us were trained to listen for what's the problem the person is describing. Do I have a solution somewhere in my data bank so I can spit it out? And while we're busy doing that in the back of our mind, we're missing exactly what the person is saying. And we're not getting the full experience of the emotion and the energy behind it. These are things you're trained in as coaches to be able to transcend our own identity and to be fully immersed in who the client is expressing themselves to be with us in this moment around some topic or focus. So pause before reacting is the way that you quiet the overthinking mind and can be available to fully receive what another person is saying. Now, that takes a lot of stamina. So there are some personal practices that are important. Find the practice or two, not 10, the one or two practices that give you energy. How do you restore and renew? Because if you're on empty, your reticular activating system is going to see everything as a threat. It will be scary and you're going to react badly. Either fight or flight or freeze or what I've been seeing a bit of, I've been calling fracture. Go one way, go, no, no, that's not it. Go the other way. No, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
And I think uh, the last really simple step for all of us is appreciation.
Hmm.
Um, you know, there's an Aboriginal story about some guides who were taking some Westerners from Perth back to Sydney. Long, very, very long journey. And they stopped about midpoint and they were there for a couple of days. And the first day was okay, but the Westerners were starting to get a little impatient on the second day and asked the guides why they were waiting. And very calmly, he said, "We must wait for our souls to catch up with us."
How sweet.
Yes. And I think this is what happens when we're short with ourselves, when we're a little prickly with other people, when we feel like we can't focus or concentrate, give into it. Take a break. Go to your practices, restore and renew your energy. When life lives through us, it's effortless. And recognize that state of being and keep bringing yourself back to it. Appreciation and gratitude is one of those practices. And without it, without people getting an opportunity to um, acknowledge themselves and acknowledge each other, we always end up in scarcity. We must not have done enough of something, which is, again, a mirage of separation.
Great.
And I think
Thanks,
it's
thanks, thanks. I think I got very much pointers. I don't know. I need to bring some changes in me and what way and what directions. Thank you very much. It's
you're
really, really,
welcome.
yeah, it's really provoking my thoughts of self-introspection. Thank you.
Thank you
Good.
for asking. I think Sheba has raised her hand and then Purvi.
Yeah, hello everyone. I think this conversation, Janet, thank you so much to both you and Jaya for bringing up and opening this space for us. And since I have the opportunity, I will ask something that often comes to my mind. And I
Great.
always push through it, but I don't think I have really, from your perspective, centered into it yet. And that's why it keeps coming up. So I've
Mm,
realized that people like all of us here and many more who couldn't be part of the conversation, who start on the journey of self awareness, of this deep journey inside of growth, um, it becomes difficult. Sometimes we are always caught in a dichotomy of where should you stop? Because as you are growing inside, you feel yourself disconnected from what's around you. And it's okay. You may have a growth mindset, you may be resilient, but for how long? And especially when that happens with people who are close to you. So, how do you, from your perspective, center in that generativeness um, to really be and become without losing sight, without feeling disconnected. Because uh, in my personal opinion, it feels like a very scary place where you're just growing, evolving, and for more connectedness. But the opposite happens in reality. I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Thank you so much, Shiva, for the candor and the vulnerability, because you're naming what I'm sure everybody who is here and those who will listen in future are experiencing. When I first, I'd been a coach for a long time before I bought a coaching education company, and I said to the team, you have to remember that we are going to activate things in people that will put them into transformation. They don't know that's what they're buying. That's too big an idea, but it is what will happen. And the reason that it happens is because you awaken to yourself. And so much of our relations, if you will, are a function of our family of origin and the influence they have upon us moving into adulthood. The psychological term is to individuate. We start to brush up against our parents' values and go, those aren't my values. I want something different. And we find our way in the world and we build relationships. That's one level of awakening. It's the separation from the dependency. We have the longest incubation of any animal species on planet Earth. It takes us a long time to decide to leave our parents and stand on our own 2 feet, rooted in our truth. So we construct a world and then we say we want something more. Well, that by definition means we're going to leave some things behind. So part of the journey is learning how to acknowledge and celebrate and be grateful for the shoulders you stand on, the relationships that molded you, that influenced you, and give them the opportunity, the invitation compassionately to say, let me share with you what's happening for me, what I'm beginning to awaken to, what I'm excited by, what I'm inspirited by. And they'll say yes or no, and it has to be okay if they say no. And to go through the heartbreak and the grief of that loss, knowing that you will be opening to something else, that it's temporary. There'll be something more that will emerge because that is evolution. It's true for all of us. And we can't know bliss, ecstatic joy, without knowing the depths of grief and loss and pain, particularly emotional pain. Physical pain can bring it too. Oftentimes, people have a dramatic awakening after a car crash or a cancer diagnosis, or, um, they've had, I've watched this with twins where they lose their twin and they feel like they don't have an identity. That's a harsh way to get to individuation, wouldn't you say? And what's that soul bringing? What is that about? If we can hold the higher sense of we are one with all and realize there are no accidents. There are no coincidences. It's, oh, we noticed it. So it does require to be able to sit in the tension and the discomfort, recognizing you made a choice. You didn't have to do anything. You don't necessarily need to do anything. You chose to do something. Now, you might not have had your whole self choosing. You might be going, hmm, who chose that for me? And that's another step of awakening. Oh, I can think of some dates I went on when I think to myself, oh my God, what was I thinking? Just to make a simple example, right? So it is going to happen. There's no getting around it. If you want to continue to honor connection with all that is and the growth that is inherent in being a human being, you will suffer some pain, but it is in service to your growth to see what else is out there, what else is possible. Dr. Jung, Carl Jung, believed that, and this is the kind of the roots of the Myers-Briggs indicator, typing indicator, right? That we had four main human capacities. Two are pretty well settled by the time we are young adults. So 18, 19, 20, somewhere in there. The third usually comes somewhere in your late 30s, mid 40s. Most people never get to the fourth, but the ones that do are ones who then are able to reflect back into society to say, keep going, it's worth it. It does require renegotiating your relationships. And when you do that from a compassionate heart to say, come along this journey with me, you have the possibility of those people being there for more than a season of your life. And you have to be okay with no being a right answer.
Very powerful. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
I see so much of contradiction in this, which basically means there is more inner work to be done.
Thank goodness. You know, if I'm done, maybe that's my last breath. No, I don't want to go yet.
Yeah, yeah. It's very much like you have to go through this. You have no choice, and there will be discomfort, and you have to embrace it, and you have to take it like it was your choice in some other realm, and that's
Yeah.
what it is.
I thought this had all the solutions. Now I realize that's not the case.
No, sorry. All right. I see Purvi raised her hand. Purvi?
Thanks, Shreya. Janet, I'm still kind of so much in awe, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to articulate what I really am processing as I'm saying this aloud. This morning I was actually I had a little playtime with my 2-year-old nephew,
Mm.
and when you were talking about wholeness, the thing that was coming up for me is that when we were babies, which I witnessed today, a baby so filled with a feeling of wholeness, so happy with themselves. And I think what's coming up for me is that as we keep growing in age, and I think I feel probably right now I'm in an age where I feel like a lot of my wholeness is either depleted or I
Mm.
fail to acknowledge, and I don't know where to begin. And I what's also kind of coming up for me is that I don't think I'm alone in this, because I've heard so many of the leaders that I coach, and especially a lot of women leaders, talk about this self-doubt, this something that they fail to acknowledge about themselves. Um, so is like what is it that we can do to like take care of our wholeness, feel our wholeness, or even like, I don't know, protect it. I don't know even if whether it's actually even depleted or it's just something that I'm feeling, but
Yeah.
I hope I've been able to
I'm
articulate.
appreciating your awareness. Yeah, I got it. You articulated it beautifully. So I would guess your wish would be that everybody has access to a 2-year-old nephew or niece,
Oh, seriously.
right? Because here's what's true. It was in your field. And in that moment with your nephew, you remembered. You remembered that wholeness is in us always. Affirmation of that mindset occurred in the moment you were with your nephew. And what creeped into your consciousness was, how come I don't feel that now? And the sadness and the disappointment that you're in that place. And then your mind went to your clients and you could see, oh, this is being reflected back to me in my clients. We're all in this together. Now, what's interesting, when our clients or our team members, doesn't matter, same thing, are always going to reflect back how we are choosing to bring our energy, our emotion, our action, our decisions, our interactions, right? We are getting a reflection of who we are being. That's jargony. Take it back to the behaviors in the way we experience people speaking to us. adults, we acquire all kinds of extra layers of things. It usually starts with the rules. Mom and dad have rules for us. That's the first layer. And then the next layer is be kind to other people no matter what. Lots of different traditions that talk about how to turn the other cheek, for example, right? Always be kind. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Um, then we have the layer of get along with others, play well. Even if it means you have to share your toy, please do it. Now, we could talk for a long time about the layer after layer after layer after layer of societal norms that we are carrying around on our shoulders until they feel so dang heavy that we just don't have any energy. And that starts the journey of dismantling, unlayering, so we can remember our original selves because it didn't go anywhere. It's just kind of buried underneath the layers of identities that we believe somebody else asked of us to live into. I do work with a lot of women leaders, and I'm thinking about a head of R&D for a multinational headquartered in France, and she got promoted. She got promoted not only to the executive position, but added on to the executive committee. So she now has a very big corporate hat on, in addition to her functional hat, added another 2,000 people underneath her leadership. And she was sitting in the doubt of, do I have to earn my seat at the table? And I said, I think you weren't listening when the CEO congratulated you on your promotion. And she looked at me really funny, and I said, you told me what he said. You've earned your seat at the table. You don't have to prove anything. Now it's time for you to bring your greatness to this group of people. We need you. So you don't have any time for this doubt. This is silly. You're being silly. Whatever that layer of clothing is, take it off.
Yeah.
It's an example, right? Um, but the work of consciousness, of awakening consciousness, is a practice. It's
Mm.
never a destination. There's always another layer to let go of, to realize that our identity is not externally defined. It's an internal choice. And some of those choices we outgrow and we let them go. This is the transforming belief systems work that we do as coaches. So I would say celebrate what you are feeling and recognize that you have the gift of awareness, that evolution is upon you.
Thank you. So
Thank
Purvi,
you.
I have started telling myself that I'm on a mission to claim myself. And
Mm,
that works.
that's beautiful.
That works wonderfully. It gives me so much of power to say, hey, I'm on my way to claim myself. I'll claim everything that's mine.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm talking about, right? Let's see, Pragati. Pragati, come on. Let's take this the last question. I'm aware of time. Yes, Pragati.
Yeah. Hi, Jaya and Janet. So thanks for such a wonderful conversation. I'm still kind of absorbing a lot of things that were said. So I have a question. So this journey towards consciousness that we are talking about, I mean, it may sound like a very basic question, but is it about finding ourselves or is it about losing the identity that we have created for ourselves? I'm quite lost there. Like,
Uh,
seriously.
my husband hates it when I do this. Yes. It's not an or, it's an and.
And
I don't think it's so much as finding as remembering. It's remembering who we are. One of the things that you likely are doing with clients, but maybe you'll see it in a slightly different light, we have them reflect on the major milestones in their life and to go back as far as they can possibly remember. 5 years old, if they can remember, 10 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old, 25 years old. And then as they get to current time, to project out another 10 or 15 years and to begin to identify what did I learn about myself at that time in my life? What was the principle that I took on? What was the value that I took on? And as they look at that inventory to say, and to what degree in current time are you living that? And if you're not, what would you want yourself to evolve to be living? That choice right there is a letting go, a surrendering, a releasing, and in service to returning home to the wholeness of who you are. And remembering I can excavate that for my entire life. There's always more to who we are. And that's a conscious choice we have to make, deliberate. Being a human has no destination. It demands of us conscious, deliberate, intentional wholeheartedness for us to thrive and for the people around us to thrive. That's the commitment you're making on the consciousness path. And coaching, in my mind, is a extraordinary modality for awakening consciousness.
Thank you. That helps.
So, Janet,
You're welcome.
my last request is tomorrow we enter 2 days conference, which is, you have seen the agenda, really loaded with a lot of value with chakras and coaching. And,
Mhm.
yes, I've been called crazy to build up such a big agenda that is virtual, but that's who I am. I want to give back more. What's your recommendation when people are getting into chakra sessions and about generativeness and wholeness, and what can they really sit with?
So, one of the things I learned in college was that thoughts create emotions, create action in the body. And I can tell you that my own spiritual practices over time and my work in coaching, that was dead wrong. That is not how it works. Your body is the wisest aspect of being a human. It will always know well in advance of your mind's ability to give it language or imagery to explain it. Because remember, that's really what our brain is doing. It's trying to make sense out of what's going on. But the body already knows, particularly deep in the belly, the gut instinct. Maybe you're somebody who gets goosebumps when you hear something that's absolute truth, or you notice that your breath quickens or opens, right? There's a shift in your physical sensory system. Pay attention to this next 2 days. You are going to hear things that are going to challenge your own internal status quo. Allow it in the safety of being in a learning container. Listen to your body. Ask it, what is the meaning of this for me? What is this inviting me to consider as a possibility? Rather than getting into the debate of, is this person truthful? Is this the right answer? All answers are answers, period. It's just what is. You get to decide from the inside out the way you will experiment with it and begin to find out what aspect of this is for me now and what might be for me later. And I'll put that in my journal and come back to it at a time when my curiosity gets reawakened about it. And I think the other piece is, as you're paying attention to the body, because we went through the chakras, use it. Do you feel it in your root? Does it add to your centeredness and your groundedness? Feel it in your heart. Does the story ring true? Are you able to be with the passion of that person or not? So start with the body, pay attention to where the energy flows, and stay available with a beginner's mind. I know that's an old hat statement, but it's really true when you're hearing things for the first time that rock your world a little bit. Stay with it. There is the seed of innovation for you and that tension.
Thank you very much. It seems that our minds are exhausted and it's time for us to use the next intelligent system, which is our body. So let's
Yes.
do that.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, I'm never short of conversations with you, Janet, and I love to continue, but I want to respect everybody's time. Thank you very much, Janet, for this, and I hope you can enjoy the conference too with us. Thank you very much for doing this. I'm sure I can speak from everybody. I can see the comments. It has been an amazing session. Thank you for
Great. Well, I'm delighted to be of service, Jaya. Everybody have a fabulous 2 days ahead. I will come to what I can, and I'm sure I'll see you somewhere on the byway.
very soon.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye now.